Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the graduation for Undergraduate Helicopter Training Class 2509. I'm Captain Ben Roberts, and I'll be your narrator for today's graduation. Please rise for the entrance of the official party and remain standing for the playing of the national anthem and the invocation. At this time, Chaplain Wilson will now deliver the invocation.
Let us pray. Most gracious and holy Father, I come to you now with such a grateful heart that we have 5 graduates that will be flying and protecting our nation, dear Lord. I ask, dear Father, that you would just bless their career, that you would anoint their path, dear Lord. This is such a special occasion, dear Lord. And I just ask, dear Father, that you would bless this day, not just for them, but also their family and their loved ones. Be with us today for this ceremony. It's in your precious and holy name I ask these things. Amen.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, I present the commander of the 23rd Flying Training Squadron, Lieutenant Colonel Cindy Tope.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you, Chaplain, for those heartening words. Good afternoon. I would like to welcome our families, friends, and distinguished guests of the 23rd Flying Training Squadron. First, thank you to the Army Aviation Museum for hosting our ceremony, as well as the Garrison and U.S. Army Aviation Center of Excellence. We could not do our mission without their daily support and partnership. I would also like to recognize and thank key members of the 23rd team for their efforts in getting the class across the goal line. Our operations officer, Lieutenant Colonel Magnuson, leader, Master Sergeant Guy Regina, as well as our other partners, representing our Amentum instructor team, Mr. Kyle Taylor, representing the Order of Dedallions, Mr. Bubba Hauser, representing our M1 aircraft maintenance team, Mr. Joaquim Hunter, and Mr. Marty Cooper. And a special thanks to Tech Sergeant Gregorsowitz, Staff Sergeant Brooks, the 23rd Front Office team, and the many lieutenants who made this ceremony possible today. The mission of the 23rd Flying Training Squadron is to train undergraduate aircrew members in foundational vertical lift operations. We're here to celebrate another mission accomplished, as these 5 officers successfully completed the rigors of undergraduate helicopter training. Thank you to our contractor, civilian, and military personnel. Professionalism and dedication to the mission brought these young aviators to the stage today. Finally, to the friends and families of our graduates, this is not the first significant milestone they've met as they progress in their Air Force careers. The strong foundation provided by years of your guidance and care got them here today. Thank you for everything that you've done and will do to support them as they continue to excel in our Air Force. The graduation speaker today is Colonel Jason Gingrich, Deputy Commander, Air Forces Space, Tyndall Air Force Base, Florida, where he oversees the planning and execution of contingency operations for NASA's human spaceflight programs. He ensures the Department of Defense personnel are properly trained for rescue, recovery, and retrieval of NASA-sponsored astronauts and equipment. Colonel Gingrich earned his commission from the ROTC program at Pennsylvania State University in 1997. He served in a variety of positions in Air Combat Command, Air Force's Special Operations Command, and Pacific Air Forces as an instructor and evaluator pilot. Additionally, he served as the branch chief for vertical lift acquisitions on Headquarters Air Force staff and was the senior military advisor to the ambassador to the United States mission to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Prior to his current assignment, he commanded the wing at Incirlik Air Base, Turkey, supporting operations in U.S. European Command and U.S. Central Command. Colonel Gingrich is a command pilot with 2,500 flying hours and 170 combat hours in the HH-60 Gulf. He flew in support of Operations Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom, Freedom Sentinel, Inherent Resolve, Atlas Guardian, North Atlantic Treaty Organization's Resolute Support Mission, and U.S. Africa Command operations. He is an aircraft instructor and evaluator and has served a decorated career both as an aviator and a leader. Sir, thank you for being here today to share your wisdom and experience with our graduates. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Gingrich.
Thank you for that introduction, and thanks for having me here today. It's an honor to be part of such a momentous occasion for the 5 of you here graduating and the families involved with that. Some days it feels like just yesterday that my wife was up here on this same stage pinning me on, and it was so exciting to know that future and the unknowns of that future of where you're going to go in the rest of your career. Although she does remind me that was 25 years ago sometimes, and now I just mostly do email, but for the next part of your career, you'll get to fly a lot. I'd also like to thank the Army for providing such an amazing backdrop for this. I grew up in a post-Vietnam environment, watching a lot of Vietnam movies and seeing the helicopters my whole life, and wanted to fly helicopters since I was a kid. And then flash forward into what my kids call the late 1900s when I was here at pilot training, to fly the Hueys that were in those movies, and I got to be instructed by the pilots that flew in that war. And they not only taught me how to fly, but they taught us how to survive. And now you guys are those new ones, and I'm that old guy with the old war stories. Last year I was telling a story about when we went into the Hindu Kush during the Afghan war in the beginning days, talking about high altitude ops, brownouts, dust storms, the first time you saw tracers coming at you rather than leaving the aircraft. And those lieutenants were somewhat in awe of what I thought, and they related that to that movie, The Horse Soldiers, which at first I took as a compliment. And then I realized they were actually talking about an old historic event that they've heard about. And that's when my wife reminded me that I'm old again. All of that to say, make sure you take the time to bend the ears of those pilots at Kirtland, the pilots that are here, and the pilots at your new unit to find out the lessons learned. You don't want to learn those lessons again. They've been learned through bent metal, blood, tears, and sweat. So take the time to listen to them as you go into your career. When I got my wings, there was not an active war going on. We'd been coming out of the Gulf War, some Kosovo, Bosnia stuff. But we were in a training rut. It was hard to get people motivated sometimes. And I ask you that even though there's a war going on now, if you get to your unit and you feel what feels like a flying club, or you're just training for training's sake, stop that. Put that mindset on that you need to be ready, because you don't know when your 9/11 is going to come and when you're going to be called to the carpet and you're going to be on a C-17 and 24 hours later you're on the ground somewhere unfolding your helicopter going to war. You need to be ready. As a former commander, I'm sometimes asked and still asked, what do you do to get upgraded? What do I do to get promoted? And I'll usually answer with, don't worry about it. Work hard, do your job, wear your uniform right, and you'll be ahead of half your peers, and your supervisors are going to recognize that hard work, and you will get those upgrades, those opportunities, and you will move on. That seems short and sweet, but it gets the job done. Just keep your head down and keep driving forward. I could end right there, but the clock still shows I have some time, so I'm going to expound just a little bit more. As new pilots to your unit, this is what I would look for. I need 3 things out of you. I need you to be an expert, I need you to be innovative, and I need you to be ready. Number 1, be an expert in your AFSC. Dig into the books. Know that TO front to back. Read the AFIs. Know the TTPs. Know when and when not the difference is in those. Set yourself apart from all your peers by knowing that aircraft, from the mechanical aspects to all the mission systems. Pride yourself on knowing more than all those peers and even some of your instructors. But don't be a know-it-all, and definitely don't be a kiss-ass. A slight bit of arrogance is expected and tolerated. However, make sure you can back it up and know when to have that social awareness to use it, because it can change daily. During my first MQT flight and my first assignment, I was out and my instructor was recovering the sortie, and he flew the not-so-stellar ILS. For those of you that don't know what an ILS is, it's a very precisely phoned instrument approach in the weather. And when we landed, I thought it would be funny to ask him if he was just going to log a non-precision approach. That was not the right time to have some arrogance. He is actually, I don't know if he's in here, but I believe he is still one of your contract instructor pilots, so we'll have to ask him if that was the right time. So once you're an expert on that aircraft, start to branch out. Become an expert on other things, like the mission planning suite, different additional duties in the squadron, the other aircraft that support you in your operation, or the other mission or soldiers or airmen that support you. And when you find yourself always getting asked, hey, can you come help with this? Or you're known as that go-to guy or gal, then you know you're on the right track. Number 2, be innovative. The first step goes back to number 1 of being an expert first. Because without a clear understanding of knowing how and why things are done, you shouldn't be the good idea fairy and continue just being a lieutenant and get the job done. But once you have grasped that intent and you know that the process is not being done well or not being done the most efficiently, it's not just a good idea, but it's your duty to step up and make things better. And not just better to get an OPP bullet, but to make the Air Force better and the DoD better. If you hear people say, this is how we've always done, as their rationale for continuing to do things stupid, you should be very skeptical. You're a new breed of officers. You've grown up in a completely high-tech Xbox world and probably have way more efficient ways to get things done. As much as it pains me to not have my paper flip in the aircraft, I will have to admit that using an iPad with all the moving maps and all my weather and everything at one touch of the hand is a much better idea than my 50-pound bag of pubs that I had to carry out every time as a co-pilot. However, it's still a little scary knowing that that screen could break and it could run out of batteries at any minute. So make sure you got a backup plan. Being innovative can also be as simple as just a one-time problem-solving session. As helicopter pilots, you're going to find yourself in many situations that aren't covered in the TOs or the AFIs. This is where having in-depth knowledge and an innovative spirit is going to get you out of a jam. I have a short story of one of the pilots I used to fly with. I was given him an aircraft commander upgrade as an experienced co-pilot. We were flying in the clouds between Korea and Japan when we were struck by lightning. We lost all of our navigational aids, but knowing we had about 30 minutes before we were going to enter the area where the high mountainous terrain was behind those clouds, I let him, as an inspiring aircraft commander, come up with a plan. Since our onboard GPS was not feeding our moving map, we couldn't pinpoint our location. And additionally, we were below 10,000 feet, which was known for the helicopters, and a known calm out area as we crossed between the ADAs between the two countries. We couldn't talk to anyone or get vectors. So he chose to plug the GPS from his survival vest into the moving map to gain our position. And he did this with a cable that he created on his own. For future evasion techniques, if we went down, he'd be able to use it on the laptop to know where we were as we were evading through Afghanistan. However, it came in handy while we were flying. He descended us towards the Sea of Japan, with the plan to break out of the weather. Finally, at about 300 to 500 feet, we broke out to the crashing white caps of the Sea of Japan. We used our weather radar to sweep for ships out on the ocean surface, which was another out-of-the-box idea because we knew the capes of our systems and how to use them in different ways. He then navigated us to Nagasaki, where we created an international incident. We showed up 2 miles from their tower, unannounced after scud running through the mountains. He came to a hover, we flashed landing light multiple times, and amazingly, we got a green light back, crossed the runway, and landed, and were detained immediately. He took what he knew, and he made that decision safely, and got his crew and all of us back. Even though those weren't the exact rules, the TOs, he made good decisions based on the knowledge he had and the innovation spirit that he had. He went on to pass that ride and later went on to become a graduate of the U.S. Air Force Weapons Instructor course. During your career, you're going to be placed in many challenging situations where you're going to have to make decisions because you may be out on alone just as a crew or a flight, and it's going to be up to you. When you are faced with those, I have 3 things to think about when you're making those decisions. Is this going to make the mission better? Is it for my airmen? And am I personally gaining from it? Hopefully not. And if you make those decisions, you're going to do just fine, and you're going to press out there and make the mission happen and do great things for this Air Force. Number 3, readiness. Physical fitness is by far one of the most important things from being a pilot, to make sure you're always there and always ready. We're in the military. As you've heard all the murmurings about the PT test changing, I will still say, even as those standards change, that should not be your baseline. Being physically fit is going to allow you to work those long days, to be more alert, and learn more. And it's more than just working out. You need to be aware of what you eat and put into your bodies as you go. When I was a co-pilot, my diet was some Reese's peanut butter cups, some zebra cakes, and about a 6-pack of Cokes, which now I've transitioned to Diet Cokes. That is not the recommended diet. That can be your dessert, but you gotta eat healthy or you're not gonna be ready when we need you. Another thing I do to keep myself in the right mindset when I'm working out is I put myself in scenarios, whether it's a combat scenario, whether it's a downed aircraft, whether my base is being overrun, and when I'm jogging or running or lifting, I think, I've got to get my fellow airmen or soldiers out of this mess. Am I ready? And I just think of that, so I push an extra mile, I lift another set of reps. So whatever it is that you can think of when you're out there, push that extra bit every time so you're ready when you need it. In addition to physical readiness, you need to be resilient. We can't neglect those other 3 pillars of resilience: the mental, your social, and your spiritual. If you take time to balance your life, you have to take care of those that matter most. Your family, your relatives, they're the ones that got you here today. They're the ones that will be by your side as you move out, and there will be the ones there after your career. So you don't want to burn out now, because the Air Force is going to need you, and you need to be ready. Everyone has something that drives them to defend this nation. Take time to enjoy it, whether it's family, your friends, hiking, video games, whatever your pleasure is. Take a break from work and focus on it. We defend this great country, so take time to enjoy the freedoms of this country and what you have here to make it worthwhile. And you also need to make sure that your family is prepared as well. They're the ones that made all this happen. I've got an example here, sorry. When I had an incident in Afghanistan, my wife was at home and found out. It was the second incident in about 9 months. But I knew that she had the backing of the squadron. I knew that she had been prepared for that. I knew that she had the right social network to be there with her. So by making sure that she was ready for anything to happen bad while I was gone, it allowed me to continue just focusing on the mission, focusing on getting my airmen back to the base that we needed to get to, because we needed to move on and get our mission done, because there were soldier and airmen counting for us. And I didn't have time to be worrying about if my wife was okay. And fortunately, because I made sure before I left that she would be okay, I could do that. I'm going to close with a quote that I found in a document that was given to pilots heading out to Vietnam, and I found a little humorous, but quite fitting. Once you're in flight, it is way too late to wonder if this is a good idea. Remember that. Now let's get these wings put on your chest.
Thank you, Colonel Gingrich. At this time, Class 2509 will receive their wings and certificates. First Lieutenant Matthew Hoffman was raised in Columbus, Georgia. He earned his commission from Officer Training School and graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry. Upon graduation, Lieutenant Hoffman was stationed at Laughlin Air Force Base, where he worked as the Chief SDO. Upon completing UHT, Lieutenant Hoffman will be flying the UH-1 November Huey at the 54th Helicopter Squadron in Minot Air Force Base, North Dakota. He'll be receiving his wings from his father, Lawrence, and will be joined on stage by his mom, Barbara, and his stepdad, David. Second Lieutenant Nicholas Bailly was born and raised in McAllen, Texas. He graduated from Arizona State University with a Bachelor of Arts in Social and Criminal Justice, as well as a Master of Arts in Emergency Management and Homeland Security. Lieutenant Bailly earned his commission from Officer Training School. In 2016, he enlisted into the United States Air Force as a Security Forces member and also served as a personal security officer attached to First Field Investigations at the United States Pentagon. Lieutenant Bailly will continue his career flying the UH-1N Huey at the 1st Helicopter Squadron, Joint Base Andrews. He'll be receiving his wings from his father, Ben, and is joined on stage by his mother, Joy, stepfather, Johnny, and stepmother, Carmen. Second Lieutenant Tony Heidelberger was raised in Underwood, North Dakota. He enlisted in the Air Force after high school and served as an MQ-9 sensor operator for 2 years. Lieutenant Heidelberger earned his commission from the United States Air Force Academy and graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Systems Engineering. He will be flying the UH-1N Huey at the 54th Helicopter Squadron at Minot Air Force Base. Today, he will be receiving his wings from his father, Gary Heidelberger, and will be joined on stage by his mother, Vancy, sister, Tammy, brother-in-law, Alex, sister-in-law, Kate, and aunt, Valory. Second Lieutenant Stephen Hernandez was born and raised in Long Island, New York. He graduated with a Bachelor of Arts and later his Juris Doctor from St. John's University. He earned his commission in 2024 at Officer Training School. Lieutenant Hernandez will be returning to New York to fly the HH-60 Whiskey at the 101st Rescue Squadron. He will be receiving his wings from his brother, Lieutenant Matthew Hernandez, U.S. Navy, and will be joined on stage by his girlfriend, Eduarda, and mother, stepmother, and father. Second Lieutenant Jordan Zalaji was raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Business from Southern New Hampshire University. Lieutenant Zalaji was enlisted before earning his commission at Officer Training School. He'll be going on to fly the HH-60 Whiskey at the 55th Rescue Squadron at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. He'll be receiving his wings from his wife, Hannah, and will be joined on stage by his parents, James and Stephanie, and brothers, Ben and Hunter. At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Tope will present the awards for Class 2509. The Military Leadership Award is an award based on military bearing, integrity, leadership, professionalism, and dedication. Each student in the graduating class, along with the staff of the 23rd Flying Training Squadron, provides their input to the commander. The commander then selects the most deserving student for this award. The recipient of the Military Leadership Award is Second Lieutenant Nicholas Bailly. The Academic Award is presented to the individual who best exemplifies the highest standards of excellence through self-study, testing, and academic evaluation. The students are tested in 6 demanding subject areas. The recipient of the Academic Award is First Lieutenant Matthew Hoffman. The Flying Training Award is presented to the graduating student with the highest flying grade point average throughout helicopter flight training. The recipient of the Flying Training Award is Second Lieutenant Jordan Zalaji. The Distinguished Graduate Award is presented to the graduating student with the highest overall percentage grade, compiled from their academic scores, their flying scores, and flight commander ranking. The recipient of the Distinguished Graduate Award is Second Lieutenant Jordan Zalaji. At this time, Dedallion Silver Wings Flight Representative, Mr. Bubba Hauser, will come forward to present the Order of Dedallion's AETC Commander's Trophy. This award is given to a graduating student who clearly demonstrated superior airmanship in those several qualities unique to Dedallions. The recipient of the Order of Dedallion's AETC Commander's Trophy Award is Second Lieutenant Jordan Zalaji. At this time, Class 2509 will now come forward to present a few gifts.
There's a lot of people here. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, everybody, first for coming out here. 2509 just has a few quick gifts to give. We're going to start out with Colonel Gingrich. We want to thank him very much for coming. So we'd like to present to him this wooden model of a TH-1H. Our next gift is going to go out to our flight commander. I want to thank him very much for everything he's done for us. We heard you like cooking, sir, so it's a cutting board with our patch on it. Oh, we're going to show everybody. Surprise. We do have a final gift for Captain Colin Von Dalen. We do not know if he's here, though. He's here? Sir, if you could come up. Captain Von Dalen was our first flight instructor. We'd just like to thank him very much. We hear he's pretty good at golf, so we got him a nice driver sleeve there. Again, thank you guys very much for coming. I'm going to get off the mic before they push me off. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the United States Air Force's newest helicopter pilots, undergraduate helicopter training class 2509. Please remain standing for the Air Force song and the departure of the official party. This concludes the graduation ceremony. We invite you to join Lieutenant Colonel Tope to congratulate Class 2509. Thank you for joining us today.